G'day guys, 1220 here and welcome back to Springwood. Before I kick off today's build, for those of you who are playing the Springwood Easter Egg Challenge, today's challenge, you need to find a reference to the Church of Symbology. If you have no idea what that is, go and check out the wiki. I've left a link in the description. So if you feel like playing, the incentive, well, you get an exclusive video of Springwood. So far, the only person outside of me who has seen that video is Lucas is Good, who spotted last week's Easter egg, which was the shrine of flowers out the front of Sylvia Winslow's house after her death. Ooh, it was a very hard one. This one is just as hard. It is somewhere hidden within the cinematics, so go and check that out if you are so interested. Leave a comment in the comment section below of the time where you saw it and what that reference is. If you're just tuning into Springwood for the very first time, I can't even catch you up. We are deep within this series. I don't know, maybe take a day to binge watch the series. It's getting good, it's getting real good. But in terms of today's build, I am going to be plopping down a police impound within Santa Clara. This is something that I remember Fresh Popcorn doing about 2 years ago, and I really loved that build that he did, and I actually just wanted to make one myself, and I've just never really had that opportunity. And I had a space within Santa Clara, and I just had the best spot to put it. So I'm going to be building that in just a second, but you might actually notice me plopping down a whole bunch of billboards. Now guys, these are our custom billboards that we have made. If you're unaware of what this is, about a month and a half ago, I put it out to people that I wanted to get some billboards made up for Springwood. Because we are set in the 80s, I needed some billboards that really captured that 80s essence. Plus, this series is all about the fine details, those little Easter eggs that you might not notice unless you're looking really extra hard. So I've put it to the people to come up with some billboards for me, and the billboards were just incredible. I loved looking at these things. They were funny, they were clever, they made references to prior builds or other YouTube channels or other cities out there, and so many references to stories within the wiki page. So good, so good. To also make this possible, that Evan jumped on board and created the actual billboards. So he's created 3 different types. We have this large freestanding billboard, a smaller version of that freestanding one, and also this is probably my favorite one, but this one sits on top of buildings on the rooftops. 3 different types. There's lots of different variations, way more than the ones that I have shown here, because I don't really want to show all of them. They're sort of meant to be Easter eggs. They're meant to be found within the cinematics, not just me showing in full right now. Also, it's not just that Evan who jumped on board, but we also have Ganuk who made some smaller versions of these billboards. They look super pretty as well, and they are great for those smaller little details that I love to place down. We have so many variations there's about 40 different types of billboards. Would you guys please jump onto the workshop after this video and download them, check them out, leave some nice feedback, and if you do use them in your builds, please tweet them at me. I'd love to see how they look within your city, even if you're not building an 80s style city. There are some great references to other YouTube channels, things within Springwood, and some very funny references. Great images as well. And speaking of great images, this billboard that I'm showing off right now was submitted by Peachish Will. He submitted this image as part of a challenge on the Discord server to advertise a Game Boy, and he won the competition, so massive congratulations, Will. I really love this billboard. It definitely deserved to win, and it was a lot of fun actually running this competition too. If you'd like more competitions being run on the channel, please let me know in the comments below, or jump onto the Discord channel and have your say, because we are looking at running another competition somewhere down the track. Love your suggestions, love your input. Oh man, I'm just looking at the time. It's been like 4 minutes of me rambling, and it's been exhausting. And I haven't even spoken about what I've been building on screen, which is like I said, something that I've been wanting to build for a really long time. So this is a police impound, and it's pretty much custom made, even though that this actual asset sort of has its own impound. So what I'm doing here, this is the actual police station, and I am clipping in this parking lot as well because I really love the texture of this lot. So and also the sunken inness sort of adds that extra bit of texture as well, which is something they just don't really achieve with decals. So I'm using this just to sort of get that shape right, and it's making some really interesting shapes, especially with those curved lines where the smaller section of the road turns into this large area. At first I didn't like it, but it actually worked out pretty nice. It sort of made it look like the road arched its way around the building and left a bit of concrete for other things rather than vehicles. So I am just sort of trying to make this a little bit more custom. I wanted just a lot of detail within this police station, because it's kind of it's a sort of police station that it's going to have a lot of attention within the cinematics, at least. I was pretty much just creating this off my own head. I was using a bit of a reference to a couple of ones within LA, though they are quite different to the ones that I'm building here, and I was just sort of trying to get a bit of an idea of how the fencing worked around these places and how they sort of operated within the proximity of an actual police station. Though it sort of seems like these are somewhat separate to police stations, I wanted there to be a station right next to it. And I did actually realize how big the lots were, these impound lots. And in terms of how these actual pounds work, I don't really know that much about them. I just know that you pretty much break the law with your car if you leave it in a parking spot for too long, if it's some sort of traffic infringement that warrants the police to basically possess your car, take your car away from you. They will take it to this lot, and you pretty much have to justify or pay your way out of this situation. And because the car has been seized by the police, I wanted the perimeter of this area to be highly defended, I guess. I wanted there to be this big security fence as well, and some sort of gate in order for you to get back in there. So if you were to want your car to, if you wanted your car back, I guess you needed to sort of pay the fine and then go to the lot and pick it up from there. What I'm doing with these planters, something that I love these parking lots a lot. I use them in every single build, but something that I have a bit of trouble with is the transition between the road and the parking lot. Well, the larger spaced parking lots. They can be a little bit finicky when trying to figure out how to make that transition. So I've been using these planters quite a lot within my builds to just hide a lot of the unused road that I don't really want to be shown. And to be honest, it works really nicely. You can't even tell that there is a road underneath that planter, and it just makes a really good access point to put down the gates. This gate is actually pretty much the gate from Grand Theft Auto. I don't know how I managed to pull it off. I'm pretty sure it's just a gate for a house or for a park, though it works really nicely for this build. So I think I plopped it down and was pretty chuffed with the look from that. Here are the cars that have been impounded. And in terms of the cars that I was choosing from, I wanted there to be a lot of sports cars because I just feel like the sort of cars that are being impounded would be the sort of cars that were probably doing some sort of drag racing or were speeding. These are custom $2.20 Springwood police cars. They were made by Archie Cunningham. In fact, all these cars in here are made by Archie Cunningham. Massive shout out to that guy. He saved my ass a lot of times for assets. This series was pretty much inspired by his cars on the workshop. So go and check them out. You can actually download these police cars as well. And you can actually see these police bikes as well. They look so great. And if you look really carefully, you can see some real cool hidden details of, well, actually, I'm not going to tell you because you have to just look out for them or download them yourself. But they're great. And building this police station was a bit of something that I also wanted to put down where to really emphasize how great those police cars are. He's not making quite as many cars, custom cars anymore, but every now and again he'll release something and I'm always just super grateful when he does. something that I'm also placing down are some more billboards. These are police billboards that sort of like advertising. It's like police advertising good behavior. So I'm using them to put them over some signs of this station. I think this station is actually a French police station, or I know it's definitely European. So there are the signs were in another language. So I actually just used these billboards just to place over those signs, and that's actually a technique I do quite a lot of to hide a lot of the things that come with these buildings. I can just, now that I've got these custom billboards, I can just use them to place them over, which is quite cool. Like I said before, a lot of the billboards I am not featuring in this episode on purpose. It's not that I don't love them, it's more the fact that I really want them to be featured within other episodes. It's definitely not the episode to just show every single thing that people have built. Kind of the point behind the billboards is to really keep them as a secret. So look out for them, because they will also be featured within other episodes. That's definitely the plan. This, by the way, I actually haven't even mentioned this, but this whole episode is sort of pretty much just based around placing down this impound, but also working on this block that is pretty much designated for random industrial and commercial buildings. That might not sound like a lot of fun, but these are the sort of builds that I actually really do love to do. The reason why, it's because I love these random industrial areas and these commercial districts that you probably don't ever really get much foot traffic unless you are after something specific. So this main road in particular that I'm working on just here, you can see, I think we have a wing stop and just a couple of like random food joints. This is like not a great area. This is a rundown, damaged, poorly maintained area. I reckon there'd be high crime. I think that the fact there's a police station right here is probably a great spot for it. You know, these roads usually have very random sort of commercial buildings, and you know, it's you don't really just want to hang out in a place like this. And that was me trying to sort of create that feel. Lots of broken concrete, damaged asphalt, and a lot of random industrial bits and pieces. So lots of back of buildings as well. So lots of back of commercial areas where deliveries will be made, and you know, things like that. And like I said, I'd love working on areas like this because these are the sort of areas that help capture the hugeness of this city. I need a lot of these areas, a lot of areas that are designated for random industrial, random commercial, as well as, you know, a huge variety of suburbs and a huge variety of tourist areas and parks and things like this. This is just another one of those areas that just help show how big this damn city is. And you know, a lot of cities have these places, and a lot of cities need these places, and Springwood is one of them. And I don't really want to make this episode a boring one, so I've really I've made sure that I've kept out a lot of the random placing down. And you might actually take a little bit away from you know, the techniques that I use to achieve this. I am still quite far away from the prop limit, and that is because I use a lot of techniques to you know, build a big city but also maintain high detail. So within this block, I mean, it's a big block, don't get me wrong, it's a massive block. I reckon I probably plop down about 30 props max. I really go low on the props, and the reason why is because it's not going to get a huge amount of attention on the wiki, probably not a huge amount of attention in the cinematics, though there is still just the necessary amounts of detail to achieve a realistic look, and that is sort of the philosophy behind Springwood. So and that doesn't mean that these areas aren't important. If you are creating stories for the wiki, and this does lead me to my next point, which is great, but if you are creating stories, these areas are great for, you know, if you were to have a business. So there are some people who are creating businesses within Springwood, their own businesses, which is so sweet. So if there is a business within Springwood, they might actually occupy one of these office spaces. And if you were creating something to do with a wiki, then you might want to talk about your business having some sort of block within Santa Clara, and this would be where it would operate. Santa Clara is quite a nice district, but these areas do belong within nice districts as well. They're sort of like on the fringes, and these fringe areas I'd totally dig. And in terms of the wiki, we are creating some brilliant stories, and by we I mean they are creating some amazing stories on the wiki. Go and check it out. I've left a link in the description. It is very interesting and very insightful, and it might actually spark some creativity from you as well. So go and check it out. Go have an explore and find those brilliant backstories to this ever-expanding city. And if you want anything to do with the wiki, if you want to write your own story or name a building or add a sim, jump on to the wiki support group on the Discord server. I've left a link for that. So I repeat, if you ever want to add anything to the wiki, go and jump on the Discord chat group. They're highly supportive, they're highly creative, and they're bouncing off ideas all the time. And that would be your best place, because you don't want to jump on the wiki, start adding your story, and realize that it conflicts with another part of the story. I don't want to discourage you from jumping on the wiki. Definitely go and do that. But if you're ever going to add anything, go to the Discord server first. These people have really taken it to a new level, and in order to achieve the realism and to maintain the feel of Springwood, we need consistency. So jump onto that Discord and have your say. Add a story. Mention that you want to add something, or you want to create some sort of backstory, and they will support you all the way. Getting back to the build though, and I've just been placing down another distribution center. I placed one down next to the airport a few episodes ago, and this one is just like a mini one, not very much detail. I didn't even place down any trucks. It's just a building with a massive parking lot, and it looks pretty sweet. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. And it's sort of necessary around a place like this. There is a highway that pretty much leads straight out of the city around here, so lots of trucks will be coming in from this area. And to be honest, you actually see a lot of trucks coming in, which is pretty sweet. But this area is quite a lot of commercial, a lot of business around here, so it's sort of essential that we have an area that handles a lot of the distribution that comes in and out of the city. So yeah, I think that works pretty nicely. And what I'm doing on screen right now is I'm working on an area that it's like this random, probably somewhat abandoned block of concrete. It doesn't sound very exciting, but I've noticed this a lot, and I need to be placing down more of these areas because they exist within real life. And I don't need just to place down buildings every inch of Springwood. I really just need to keep that in mind, because quite often I'll float around the city and get a good look of everywhere around the city, and it is just huge amounts of development, whereas I need to be treating a lot of these areas as areas that perhaps are in the process of being developed, or were once some sort of block that is now abandoned, or just a block that has never really taken off as anything. So this is my little contribution to that. I'm sort of making this a bit of an abandoned old factory. If you have an idea for what this area was once, please let me know. I feel like it was some sort of industrial hub. Maybe it had some sort of old factory on it, and now it's been sort of in the process of maybe being redeveloped into something. But this particular area is one of those areas that, always have high crime. There's some sort of drug deal going on. You don't exactly drive down this road to throw a line into the river. Mind you, I don't think this river is particularly nice. We might have to give this river a bit of backstory at some stage. Not now. We're still a bit too far away from this area to be kind of even thinking about it. But so far, the development that I've placed along this river has been basically some sort of industrial or commercial, and it's not quite pleasant. I'm pretty sure there's even a shipwreck somewhere along this river, so I don't know. I think I'm probably gonna have to do a whole episode just based on this river, which would be quite fun. But for now, we're just working on this industry. And I love for people to come up with some of the purposes for this industry, or even add some suggestions. If you have any suggestions, leave them in a comment below, or if you want to add anything to the story of Springwood, jump onto the Discord and add your story there, because we do need some backstories behind these factories. I'd love some ideas of what big businesses lie within this city. There's got to be some sort of connection between a factory and some shop or some business mogul within the city. I'd love to know. There's got to be some sort of connection there, and you know, placing down these areas just sort of highlight that, I think. But this last little build is this old school factory. This is such a beautiful model. I wish I could give credit to the asset creator who built it, but I actually can't remember off the top of my head while I build this episode. But it's such a pretty building. It's I needed some more older style buildings within this city, and this is just one of those factories that sort of lie within that. And this space, I didn't really know what to place down here. I sort of feel like this building has no connection to what I end up placing down. So it's almost like this factory had its own purpose back in the day, back in, like, you know, 1900s, and these days the space is mostly just used as for another business to be placing down these you know, big sand stacks that are probably being used in some sort of development somewhere around this area. But this factory, it's sort of historical, and they're probably going to leave that there for a while. Maybe they'll knock it down at some stage, or maybe in like 2018 it'll be turned into some hipster cafe serving $8 coffee. But for now, it's just a bit of an eyesore, or in my opinion, I think it looks quite cool. And especially when you cross the bridge, and that is pretty much one of the first things you see is this big old building, and then you know, it's pretty much the thing you see as you're leaving Springwood. It's very cool. I love this area. I love the fact that people are leaving or entering Springwood around here. It's very cool to be working on the fringes of the city. And as we are talking about the fringe of the city, it's the fringe of the episode, guys. We're gonna wrap it up here, and thanks so much for watching to the end. If you haven't spotted any of the references to the Church of Symbology yet, maybe just keep an eye out for the ending. That might be something around there. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and a comment below. That would be very much appreciated. And I'll catch you guys in the next episode. See you later.